In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Geoff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes the January sales as a further 50% discount, a buy one get one free offer, and quite simply makes it better. On today's episode, I'm joined by author and blogger Matt Aadland. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Yes, not too bad. It is extremely cold here in the UK at the moment. Mine kind of, I know it's for some places it's nothing, but kind of the -3s, -2s. So we've got the long johns on. How's it? South Florida, is it?
Yeah, it's been extremely cold here. It's been about 18 or 19 degrees Celsius, which is basically freezing.
That's that's a relatively nice day here in the UK.
Yeah, it's actually we love those days here too.
Yeah, I can imagine. Nice and warm the rest of the time. Look, Matt, without further ado, thank you very much for joining me. But please tell me, what is it that we are going to aim to make better today?
Well, it's this trope. Every time I come across it, it rankles me. And it is when someone has told a lie, or there is some kind of miscommunication or something, and that instead of just being like, hey, I need to talk to you for a minute, I'm sorry, but blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, we need to clear this up. It might look like this, but it's actually that. I need you to understand that. Instead of that, which they never have time for. It's always that they never have time for it. Instead, they just run with it, and nonsense ensues. And suddenly they have plenty of time for all the nonsense. It's like, it's crazy. Two genres that I've noticed it in, which is really odd that it's these two genres, but I've noticed it's like the worst in these two. And one is rom-coms, which are my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And the second is post-apocalyptic fiction. I mean, half of The Walking Dead ran off of this train.
It is actually, and I know it's because I've been rewatching it. And you're right; you're 100% right.
That's why it's been on my mind, because I did a rewatch of The Walking Dead when season 11 came on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the same. Same with me, because I haven't watched the last one yet, so I'll kind of rewatch that. Anyway, that's the segue. But I tell you, first of all, loving the rom-com admission there, because it's a little place in my heart. I do love I hate the term chick flick, but that kind of soppiness is. And I gotta go, what's your favorite actor?
Favorite actor? Well, my favorite actor probably doesn't have anything to do with rom-coms. I don't think he's actually been in one, unless you consider it a brom-com. And I gotta look him up now.
So just while you're doing that, one of my, and this actually falls into what we're talking about as well, is I'm a bit of a sucker for it's got Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
I haven't actually seen that one yet, but I do like Mila Kunis a lot, and Justin Timberlake is always an interesting character.
Yes, very much so. And do you know what? That there's kind of the whole thing is, she's a recruiter, a headhunter, gets him, and then obviously, Friends with Benefits, you can understand the agreement they come to. Then they both kind of think that neither one of them wants a relationship, and then all of a sudden there's something that happens, and neither one of them actually talks about it. So they just decide that they're leaving to go to different states and live out their lives. Obviously, it all comes back around and everything's fine in the end. But it is literally this: no, you've made a mistake. You've assumed. I think Mila Kunis assumed Justin Timberlake was doing something. He didn't then correct her. They didn't tell each other they love her soon enough. And for a third of the film, it's all soppy music and trying to get them back together. It's like, well, just tell each other. Like,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you could have wrapped that film up in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And It would have just been a comedy about not a rom com, because the rom com has to have that dramatic will they or won't they, even though
Yeah.
you know they will.
Yeah, it's like
But
you
yeah,
definitely will, but they have to throw in that. And in fact, it actually is always a misunderstanding. Whether it's
oh yeah,
the ex has come out of the apartment, or it's always that is. In fact, that is the sole way that rom-coms work, isn't it?
it's
That
pretty much that, and some creepy stalkerish behavior on the part of the dude that is played for laughs.
yeah,
Yeah, you mash those together, and you got yourself a rom com.
you got yourself some gold. Oh, fantastic! Did you find the guy you were
Oh,
searching at there?
oh yes, I did. My current favorite actor working right now is Dave Bautista, and
Oh,
the movie I
interesting
was
shout.
referring to that I said you might consider a bromcom was Stuber. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's with Kumail Nanjiani and
It
Dave Bautista.
Yes. So that is the one where the other actor whose name you just said and completely missed.
Yeah,
He's
Kumail.
Camille. He an Uber driver or a
Yes,
taxi driver
yes.
or something. And yeah, but I have seen that. And you know, I'm going to rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy today, and Dave Bautista, his kind of shift from being a wrestling star to I think it's kind of gone better, not better than The Rock, because obviously The Rock is massively
Yeah, he's seriously successful.
also an actor who pretty much every single film, bar maybe Jumanji, um, has the trope in of there's a misunderstanding either
Yeah,
from
yeah. Oh
him
yeah,
or someone else. I think, well, Central Intelligence, that jungle one he did, literally keep naming him. But Batista, I think, yeah, he's taken on different roles. Whereas The Rock, I've seen him, I think there's like 6 different films where he's in the jungle wearing a grey t-shirt.
yeah. It's there's at least four. I know for a fact there's at least four. I don't really. I used to really like The Rock very early on. What was it? The Rundown, the first film that I saw with him in it, where he was actually in moments doing some decent acting. I
Yeah.
liked him a lot then. I've kind of lost interest in him over time because of 4 films of him in a dirty t-shirt in the jungle. He basically plays two characters. He's got two characters. Um,
Yeah.
One is the badass cop guy, and the second is the non-cop guy who's inexplicably buff as hell
Yeah.
and
For no
gets thrown in
reason,
things.
but owns a boat. Or
Yeah.
I like there's one he did. There's a couple of early ones. One is when he was was it an American football team for young people who were, I don't know, in rehabilitation or something like that.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
And
I'm
another,
actually looking at his filmography now. I'll recognize the name.
I think there's another one which is basically like Roadhouse as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Uh,
also must admit, is it Tooth Fairy? I'm a bit of a sucker for the Tooth Fairy. If I'm going to be
yeah,
honest,
yeah. That was one that I actually wanted to watch, but I still to this day have not seen that.
I mean, I wouldn't say rush out and don't book time for it.
But if I stumble across it on
If
YouTube,
you stumble across it, put it on. But oh dear me, yeah, he's kind of one of the kings of the trope. But I mean, I suppose he's never really done a rom com, has he? I mean, he's an action comedy star
yeah,
who
yeah,
if you see his name on something, then Kevin Hart isn't far behind.
yeah.
But
Him and Kevin Hart are basically a comedy duo at this point.
they are. But I love Kevin Hart. I think he's hilarious,
I actually
and together they work well.
I actually physically ran into Kevin Hart once several years ago. I was walking into a gas station, and he comes walking out and literally just runs straight into me and just stopped. And I stopped and I looked down and I'm like, I know this guy. And I hadn't put it together yet. And he takes a hold of my arms. He's like, sorry about that, man. You good? You good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And I turned, and as soon as I turned, I'm like, Kevin Hart. And I spun around, and it was too late. He had these two big guys like rushing him to a car.
But yeah, just before you recognize it, that's why
Yeah, yeah.
he knew you were about to recognize it. Well, that is crazy, and he didn't go okay. 'Cause he seems to do that a
No,
lot. Uh,
nope. He was just like, hey, sorry about that, man, and that was it.
and that oh well, there you go. That's a claim to fame. That one.
At least, yeah. At least he was polite.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of stories about celebrities that are they'll just mow you over and yell at you to get the hell out of the way.
yeah. Their time's far more important than anyone else's. But yeah, but they might be having a bad day, and actually, if they just
Yeah,
turned and said, "Look, I'm really sorry, I'm having a bad day,"
I think about that a lot.
the whole thing could have been done, and it goes back to the trope, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
people. In fact, actually, the trope of just not talking about something. Yeah, in real life, generally, if there's a misunderstanding, then people will try and talk about it. It's not
yeah.
usually dramatized up, but you know what? We don't talk enough about. Yeah, just hey, I did this, which led to that, and I was just having a bad day. And people, I mean, there's probably people that you bump into. Oh no, they don't actually. This is just me because I overthink everything, and so if someone annoys me, I will think about it for a long time,
Oh
especially
yeah.
if
That's not
they've
just you.
yeah, if they've made it seem like it's my fault. I
Yeah.
sit there and I stew in it. I'm like, no, this is this. I said on a previous episode that I maneuvered. I was in the car. I was going around a roundabout, and I did everything properly. And this other driver came round, shouted, "It's my effing right of way," and it wasn't. It was mine. I yelled out, "No, it effing isn't!" out the window. And I still think to this day, this person is out there thinking, well, no, because that was their right of way and they're wrong. It's my right of way, and and I'm dedicating minutes on a podcaster twice, in fact. That's how much it's. But they might have been having a bad day, and if I had the opportunity to speak to them, they might say, "Hey, I'm really sorry, I was having a bad day. I'm not
Yeah.
a bad driver."
Yeah, that's not just you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's kept me awake. Situations like that have kept me awake many, many, many nights. Um,
Oh, glad I'm not just the only one.
yeah.
But
Oh, one of the examples I see all the time, and this is usually a small one. That it's in television, it's in literature, it's in films. Is the uh, hey boss, you got to come see this. What is it? You got to see it for yourself.
yeah.
I have tried that in real life. I would say 95 out of 100 people will not budge until you answer the question they immediately ask, which is, see what?
See
What
what?
am I going to look at?
I'm going to try that tomorrow.
And the
I,
truth is I don't blame them one bit, because I have had me and my friends when we were younger, we used to be a little rowdy, a little rude, and I have had friends say, "Hey, dude, you got to check this out. Look." And then when I look, they're showing me a
yeah.
Polaroid of their butthole or something like that, or like a video clip of some guy getting beheaded in
Yeah.
Kazakhstan.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, so I
Less fun.
understand. It's like if
Yeah.
someone's like, "Hey, you got to look at this," I'm like, "No, you got to tell me what it is
Yeah.
first, and then
But
I'll look at it."
but if you say, "Oh, that don't taste right," yeah, taste it. People will taste it,
Oh yeah, yeah,
even though
no,
you've
that
just told them
that works.
it doesn't taste nice. Like
And
what?
my favorite version, and I used to do this to my kids a lot, is to get something stinky on your hand and then sniff it, make the face, ooh, smell that. 9 times out of 10, people will smell it.
They will.
Yep, I got some messed up grease. It was like contaminated with something, and the smell was this really industrial bad smell on my hands at work. I work in an office, but we have a garage in the back,
Yeah.
and I sniffed it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's bad!" And immediately, one of the guys that was in the back there with me was like, "What's it smell like?" And he comes right over to me. I didn't even have to offer that time.
It just has to know.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, smells
reaction.
and
Reaction wasn't enough. Had to know
yeah,
just how bad it was. Because I
yeah,
suppose the hope is that he goes, "Oh, that's not that bad,"
yeah.
and looks
That's
superior
what I
with
think.
it.
Yep. Yeah, oh, I smell that all the time.
Yeah,
You're just a weenie.
That's a gym bag right there. It's the same as you're saying at a bank, kind of an ATM, and you're in a queue, and the person who's at the ATM turns around and says, "Oh, it's out of order." You don't walk off. You wait,
Yeah.
and then you go. They walk off, and you
Yep.
say, "Thank you." You go to the ATM. It's broken. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So you turn around. Oh, it's broken. That person then waits until
Yeah.
you've moved, because we don't. We either trust each other too much or not at all.
Oh, yeah, yeah, not at all. It's like at work, people will tell me, "Hey, can you come look at this real quick?" And I'll sit there and be like, "You got to tell me what it is first.
Yeah.
What am I going to look at?" And the truth is, I already know. I'm going to go look at a sheet of paper, or I'm going to go look uh, at a spreadsheet or a PDF document. It's like there's I don't have to be concerned about
Yeah.
what it is, but I'm like, what is it? What do you want to show me?
What,
And
just tell me if this is a Polaroid of a butthole, then I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I'd tell you what, with
especially at work.
well, one thing that really annoys me in films is when two people. Okay, so it usually is actually. So once the trope is resolved, so once they have turned around and said, "Oh, okay, on this day, yeah, an hour ago into the film, this happened. We didn't talk about it, so we're talking about it now." What I really hate is when they say we need to talk, and then they're somewhere completely different, but they're there together. So what were they talking about? And then they're talking about the issue. What were they doing the whole car ride? Yeah, what were they talking about? Or were they ignoring each other? No, we cannot talk about this until we get walking down the side of the beach. Like, what were they talking about in that time? I hate that. It's like talk in the car. Show us a video of them in the car.
just staring awkwardly at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you just done a 40-minute car journey and didn't speak, which is the perfect opportunity to discuss and resolve, but you chose not to. Completely
that speaks to
unbelievable.
one of my favorite gags ever in a film is when they actually show it, and you think it's like it's the elevator scene. This important conversation or these important events happen, and then one character says to another, "We need to talk," and they're like, "Okay." So they step onto the elevator, and then the elevator music starts, and they're like, "Oh, I like this song."
Yeah,
They played this song. They played this song at my high school graduation or something like that. Like, yeah, this is always a good one. And they'll just have this incidental conversation that's totally out of place, and then they cut back to this very serious conversation they're having at the floor or whatever
at the other end. I think that's why I like the Royale with cheese scene in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Between Vincent Vega and come on, brain, you can do this. But between Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, can't remember the other character name, because that conversation has nothing to do with what they're doing, where they're going, which is they're off to confront and ultimately kill some people. But it's just the conversation. It's just a normal conversation, just random, nothing to do with the plot. But they're off to do something. Absolutely, that's one of my favorite scenes, and not even for the excellent dialogue, but just the fact that it doesn't push the story along whatsoever.
Yeah.
They could just cut to them being out front of the house, but don't. And Tarantino, love him or hate him, I think kind of directorially wise, sometimes just absolutely outdoes himself.
He makes movies like, I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan out there. He makes movies that are like, they're not my favorite movies, but they contain some of my favorite dialogue.
Yeah.
Him and Joss Whedon were the two ones that really nailed the dialogue.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon seemed to fall off a bit later on, but back when he was making Firefly, oh my God, that's so many perfect lines in that.
So I've never seen Firefly with Nathan Fillion.
Yep. Nathan Fillion and Adam Baldwin and now I can't remember his first name. Alan Tudyk.
Do you know what? I know he's meant to be absolutely lovely, but I just like Nathan Fillion. I can't take him seriously as an actor. Like, he doesn't look like an actor. He's almost kind of too perfectly symmetrical, but not really like
Right. I
handsome.
know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's I don't know. He looks like he should be doing quite well at a I don't know car dealership or I don't know or middle management somewhere. Like he shouldn't be an actor. And I
There
also
was
sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish what
Uh,
you were saying.
I was going to say he also fell in the trap of one TV trope that I hate is this police kind of police person plus someone who's not a police person. Right, that dynamic I hate. Apart from the Mentalist, I think is absolutely fantastic. But Castle, so he's in Castle, isn't he? And
Yep.
he's a writer, and all of a sudden he's going on police. Yeah, it just doesn't work. And these so many of these things, these types of shows, and it just wouldn't happen in real life.
No, there's like there's no way that like just I mean, you think about it as a right, you've become a famous writer. Like, assume my book starts selling like hotcakes, and suddenly everybody in the English speaking world knows my name, and they're making movies out of my books and crap. What police department in the world
Yeah.
is going to look at that and be like, yeah, sure, this guy's qualified to go along and get us sued for $35 million when he gets shot in the middle
Exactly.
in the middle of a
Yeah,
raid.
or uses force themselves, which they're
Yeah,
not
oh
trained.
God,
You're
yeah.
not trained to do, and so that's it. Well, you write sci-fi, so do you think maybe old was it SpaceX? Is it will set kind of let you go up into space purely just so you can write about it? You never know. But unfortunately, Nathan Fillion does fall into that that as well.
Yeah. No, there is a role that he played which was perfect for him. It was the best role I've ever seen him play, and that was in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog,
I
where he plays a parody of a superhero. And that is the perfect role for him because it's got that kind of discount Hollywood leading man quality to it.
yeah.
Well, at the same time, he's a fair guy. It capitalizes on that. You get this big guy, not buff.
Yeah.
I mean, not fat, but not buff at all. Big guy,
Yeah.
handsome, but like bland. It was perfect for him.
That's bland. That's it. He's
And the arrogance. Oh my God, that he does arrogance really well. I'll give him that.
yeah. No, he does. I think he's in Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a season or as a bad guy, I think. And I can't quite remember, but I just remember him actually being very good at just not being great. But the character was
Yeah.
very believable.
He's like he was made to be a top tier B-list actor.
Yeah, that's it. That who everyone loves, but
Yeah.
just can't quite put their finger on why. I mean, okay, he's got
Yeah.
the Firefly, and actually is Firefly as good as everyone thinks it is, or does people just think that it should have had a second season? Because it was cancelled after one season, wasn't it? Am I right?
Yes, it was.
And a film.
It was actually canceled before it finished the first season. It was a fan letter writing campaign that got the film made.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. As far as I know.
Thing is, TV execs literally, where they're watching Nathan Fillion and Firefly, just going, "Do you know what? He's handsome, but he's bland."
I can see that. You know what else I could see? Nathan Fillion randomly browsing like SoundCloud and coming across this and listening to it. Hey, they mentioned me in this one. I want to hear what they have to say.
That's it.
Come out of it like those sons of bitches.
Well, no, because we're saying he's handsome and a very lovable person. See, now I'm doing the thing where I'm backtracking just in case there's the 0.0001% that Nathan Fillion ever stumbles across this. I mean, he's probably immortal anyway. Let's face it. So, kind of, he'll be the last thing on earth.
From what I've seen, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
he is. He hasn't aged a day.
He doesn't age
since Firefly.
At some point, the whole human race will be completely died out. He'd have listened to every piece of content available, and this is and this is when he finally decides just to top it off. But circling back to the original conversation, somehow. I was not sure how we went from kind of rom-com trope, or no, rom-com tropes, but movie tropes to Nathan Fillion. But sitcoms,
Oh yeah.
a sitcom episode doesn't exist where a misunderstanding doesn't that is not resolved immediately, doesn't have it. And so is it actually really, so apart from
Uh-oh.
Walking Dead, is there many non-comedy, so it's in the rom-com, it's in sitcoms galore. I mean, Friends lasted what, 10 years or 10 seasons
Yeah.
with that.
Literature, post-apocalyptic literature, which is one of my favorite genres um, to read, and especially to read indie authors. And a lot of them can be really bad, but a lot of them are really good.
Yeah.
That I see that constantly. Most of the post-apocalyptic stuff comes in series form. I mean, everything is in a series nowadays. Nobody writes standalone books anymore, it seems.
No.
But
No. Oh, I did,
but
but it was meant to be a series, but I thought podcasting is just much easier.
I'm working on one. Um, Hopefully, I will not have the urge to write a sequel. Yeah, I'm literally like considering whether or not to kill the main character at the end of it just to stop me from writing a sequel.
just to be sure.
It's also one of the endings that would make a lot of sense for the story.
Don't ruin
But
it for us.
I still haven't decided yet. I mean, there is one possible ending that also works where the main character sets out on an epic adventure across the galaxy, and this is a story that is based on and set on Earth. It's only 10 years in the future, but yeah. Well, actually, sorry, it's about 30 years in the future, but everything still looks the same because I'm too lazy to make up
all the new names. But I just realized, that Nathan Fillion's going to be sat here listening to this podcast. He was just about to buy your book, and you just told him the
yeah,
ending.
I just told I've ruined it. I have not specified which book, however. I am one of those addicted to writing guys. So I've got 5 works in progress going right now.
Wow.
And yeah, that is one of the back burner ones. So that one will come out later. He'll have forgotten what I said by that time.
Well, I'll tell you what. So this is a difficult one. So we've got the kind of movie and literature trope of two people misunderstanding, it's not dealt with, and the whole book, film, TV series or episode carries on regardless because they haven't got the time. How is that made better apart from, like, does it have to be replaced with something?
No, I can I can tell you what helps me to live with it. And one of the examples is The Force Awakens. When that happens in The Force Awakens, one of the characters, Finn, he tells this lie to the other one, which is that he's this big, important member of the Resistance. And as soon as he tells her that, we as the audience, we know, okay, so that's what the plot of this movie is going to hinge on.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, he's like, okay, I got to tell you the truth. I'm not really a big, important member of the Resistance. And Ray is like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Seeing that
Zen
in a
about
big blockbuster film. Oh my, yeah, that was, I basically floated off the seat, hands up at my sides. Oh,
because
the choir of angels.
You know what though? Because my first reaction was, well, what was the point? Well, obviously the point was so Ray trusts him, so he gains the trust, and then actually reinforces that trust by being honest.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's evidence of the trust that they built.
If it was a rom-com, that lie in a rom-com would have gone down, and their relationship would be over because of probably would have been a quite over dramatic or overreaction to the lie. But okay, I mean, so the thing is that not everyone can be honest in it, or can they? Well, that's it. But can a good film still happen if that happens and is resolved? I guess it can.
No, I mean it's possible, but it would be difficult.
Yeah.
Like I said, rom-coms are kind of my guilty pleasure. I will enjoy the hell out of a rom-com, even knowing already knowing what the ingredients are before I go in. I'll recognize the actors. I'll know that the male character is going to do something that in real life would be really creepy, but in the movie is quite presented as quite romantic. And sometimes the female character does it too, which is a little.
Yeah, I mean, we want more female characters being the creepy ones as well.
Yes, I agree. I like creepy female characters to the point where I created one. For my I sent you a picture of her. The one with the black bars.
Right. Okay. I'll have a look, and that would be up when the YouTube channel gets running.
She's creepy as hell, but yeah, and you know that there's going to be that misunderstanding halfway through the film, 2/3 of the way through the film, and that's going to drive that final conflict. Yeah. That they'll then get back together at the end of it and confess their love and live happily ever after. Like, even knowing that, I still enjoy them because it works as a dramatic point. It drives me crazy with how unbelievable it is, but if I just set that aside, if I can just put on that suspension of disbelief, then it turns into something great. It becomes something wonderful.
Maybe it doesn't need making better, or maybe it just needs to be more believable. Like that, it's thrown in there as a situation just to create the drama of a story. So
I have seen a few believable examples where the explaining would take like just forever. I mean, like it's like you got to give somebody your whole life story in order to make this make sense.
Yeah.
And that's I can buy that might take a while, or that more to the point that it might take longer than they have in the moment.
Yeah.
And
okay, I get that.
Yeah, all the nonsense that springs from it, and technically unnecessary, but not, like it was unavoidable.
Yeah.
Unavoidable.
That's it. And do you know what as well? I think there's room for if the character, if it's something the character would act that way and not explain. So the silent, tortured person who expects everyone to ultimately leave. I think Breakfast Club and things. Those kind of moody character where they just don't want to have to explain themselves because they know ultimately no one's going to believe them because they're trouble, or that kind of thing. I suppose it works. I suppose the way it is made better is just by having a better story and a better character, and I think just being written a bit better, which sounds quite pretentious, so please find something else a bit funny, because that actually sounds like I'm crapping out.
If the rest of your story is good enough that I forget about it, I'm not going to be complaining. We mentioned earlier that it's easy to recognize in the moment when you're watching films, and when someone describes it, you're like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that a million times. And then when someone's like, give me an example, you're like,
I hated it when they did this, but actually didn't, because we can't just instantly record it straight away.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations. Like, I was thinking of one. It took me quite some time to really put my finger on it in one indie post-apocalyptic series, kind of a zombie apocalypse thing, when it happened. And actually, in that case, that was one of the ones where you, like you said, where the character would not tell the truth in that situation, where it makes sense for them to not tell the truth, even though that's the easier way.
Yeah.
But it took me forever to come up with that. I was like, I know this happens in the series, but when did it happen? And I'm like on my phone with the Kindle app loaded, flipping through, like, scanning. So I eventually found it.
Yeah, it definitely happened. I think it happens well, but good writing means that it moves the story on. It's totally good. Well, yes, good one. But I think if it's subtle enough that it moves the story on and it's believable, then then it's instantly better, isn't it? Instantly makes sense. But I think this is the first time we've kind of on this podcast where not only has the conversation come to making it better, which kind of makes sense, and actually could just be a talking point for the ages, bringing up lists and lists of examples of what's happened. I know I'm going to start jotting down a list now every time I watch something. If it happens, then I'll jot it down. But yeah, I think it's a reliance on authors and Hollywood and production companies, etc., to just make sure they're using it with a bit of care and responsibility, or something like that.
Yes, that is. It is like every other trope. If it is wielded with a bit of expertise, it is a brilliant thing to behold.
Yeah.
When it's just jammed in there, which is the case a lot of times, even in some otherwise very good fiction. If it's just jammed in there, man, it stands out.
Yeah, and it often stinks. Right. Well, look, Matt, I think we've fixed it. If nothing else, we've given Nathan Fillion some tips. But I don't. So, what have you got going on at the moment? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me online on Reddit at a subreddit called Jerry and the Goddesses. It is all one word, no underscores. I am doing an ongoing urban fantasy series there.
Wow.
I kid you not, about 1 million words into it.
How long has this been going?
This has been going since about March, I believe. Wow. This past March, I post new parts almost every day. My official schedule is Monday through Thursday. I will post one new part, barring any holidays or vacations on my part. And then Fridays, I may or may not post a part, but I have posted something every Friday for the past couple of months.
Yeah.
But I still reserve the right to not post something on Fridays. I have organized it into a main series. I think of it like books, not like this kind of nebulous online ongoing story. I think of it like books. And I did the first one with the first plot arc. That one is called Jerry and the Goddesses. I did a sequel to that called Jerry and the Tradecraft. And I'm currently working on the threequel, which is called Jerry and the Apocalypse. In addition, there are two major spin-offs, like 50,000 Words, which is about like a shortish novel. Yeah. One called Glinda and the Oracle, and another one called Gary and the Old Holler Moonshine.
Wow.
That was the one that was easiest for me to write, that required the least amount of research, because I grew up to talk like this. Even though I come from Florida, there's not a lot of difference between different varieties of rednecks. I learned that in trying to do some research on, how the Kentucky redneck's different from the folks I knew. Well, it turns out they really ain't. But there's also a bunch of short stories which are like 3,000 to 5,000 words. All of them have the same naming convention, main character and the plot point. And like I said, I'm about 1 million words into it right now, and I'm still going. I have no plans to stop anytime soon. There's about let's see here. There's about 1,400 people currently subscribed to it.
Wow!
Right now, so there is a community there. I've got a Discord. 65 people in the Discord, chatting about it, making memes about it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to get on this. Well, what I do, we will put the links in the bio for the episode.
I will.
So people can.
You have those.
It sounds like people need to start catching up with it before it gets to 2 million words.
Yeah, there is. If you go to the sub, there is a little link at the top that says Wiki, and on every post there is a comment from the auto moderator that directs you to it. The Wiki gives you an introduction to it, so you're not lost. it shows you. I've got a couple of synopses for people who don't want to read everything. They want to jump in later on, and I've got a
wow.
Yeah, it just gives information about the universe and the characters and me and other stuff.
Well, I very much look forward to tapping into that and having a read. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Matt, I think all there is to say is thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better.
Definitely my pleasure.
When there's a series 2, we will compile a list and just crap on everyone, and we'll see if we can invite Nathan Fillion as well. But to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining yourself and Matt. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.